Hello you, welcome to Geekism and welcome to this overview video of the new rides and services that have come in the Vintage Pack DLC for Planet Coaster. First of all, if you enjoyed this video, please let me know by clicking the like button, and if you're new here and you'd like to see lots more creative gaming for grown-ups, especially lots of Planet Coaster content, don't forget to click subscribe. So we do one of these videos every time we get a new DLC. I often get a lot of comments that I rush through them because that's usually because there's so much to get through, and I don't want this to be like an hour-long video just for people to say that I'm milking it for views and stuff. So what I'm actually going to do is split these up. So this one is just looking at the rides and the stalls and things like that we get new with the game. There's going to be a second video where you can see all the scenery pieces. So if you want to check out that, there'll be a link up in the top corner there. We have a whopping 7 new rides that have come with the Vintage Pack DLCs, 8 altogether. One of those actually comes free as part of the 1.7 update, so there'll be a video on that as well. There's got a lot of videos going out today to cover everything, but these are the 5 that you get with the Vintage DLC. We start off with this one, which is called the Centrum, a real classic fairground ride, this one. It's where people sort of come in, they stand on the outside, and you'll see there's not much of a strap or anything in fact there's just a couple of bars that you can hold on to, and you stand against the back wall, and it's purely centripetal force that keeps you not to falling out, basically. So it's really good, lovely to see in the game. Again, I love the fact that these are really lightly themed, and for the most part the floor plan is relatively small on them. They're quite a small footprint. This is one of the better ones. There's a couple that are maybe a little big. This one here looks a little big. This one is the Hurricane, which is a little bit like the Troika that we've already got in the game, the Scissor I think it was called, but obviously again even less themed than that one, so the name isn't on it. So that's a really nice feature that you can sort of go in and retheme these as much or as little as you want. So they're both really great. There's this one here, which again is a little bit like the Zozo that's already in the game. It doesn't spin around, but again, really small footprint, tiny little ride. Going to be great for sticking into sort of more realistic parks, or also you could do a really nice like travelling fair kind of park with a lot of these, I think. Same as well with this one, the Round the World, another Ferris wheel, but this time the actual carriages themselves spin. I don't think I'd ride something like this. I'm not a massive fan of this sort of spinny type thing, but again, really cute. Nice small footprint. The only one they kind of messed up on a little bit is this one, which is the test flight. It's a really classic ride where people can ride in it and turn these themselves. There's more modern versions of these now available. There's more modern versions of these in the game, actually. The Wild Blue, for instance, is pretty much a modern day version of this. But again, really nicely light theming, huge footprint on that one for some reason. The other 4, I'm actually really quite impressed with the small footprint. All of these as well have the new sort of custom lighting set up in them, so they look really great at night, and obviously they're all recolorable. Set music to them, change the sequences of them and all that sort of stuff. So overall, really pleased with the flat rides. Now, a lot of people have been screaming for more flat rides in the game, and I think these are pretty much all really solid additions, especially the problem is I'm probably looking at this park a little bit with my own head on me, because, you know, all this stuff will fit perfectly into Pinewood Hills, which is our sort of realistic budget British park that we're doing. So I'm really excited to play around with some of these. Maybe people who are building more sort of fantasy parks might have liked something a little bit more crazier, but then the good thing about these being so unthemed is that you can add your own theming onto them and you know, pretty much do whatever you want with them. These can become sci-fi, these can become fairy tale with all the pieces, whereas opposed to something like the Whirligig in the game that's pretty much only ever going to be a pirate theme ride, you know. So I think they're really great additions, really, you know, gorgeous animations, and yeah, there's nothing wrong with these at all for me. Next up we have the 2 new coasters. First of all, we have one called, it's not called Surf Avenue, it's called the Zephyr. Surf Avenue, this is the blueprint that the game comes with. And do you know what, I had to have a real good look at this to find out how this was any different to the other wooden coasters we've already got. It does use a different car that's actually quite sweet, again, very sort of plain. I like that, really old school sort of coaster car that you can see there. The only other thing is, and I really had to zoom in to have a look, is that the wood itself is actually a little bit tarnished and battered bruised, and it wasn't until I actually placed a regular wooden coaster down next to it till I really noticed. So really we weren't really calling out for this. It's basically a reskin, but it's nice. I do like the car. I may look at maybe changing the Thunderer into using these cars instead of the one they've got now, because they do look a bit old school. They do look very much like the Big Dipper cars over at Blackpool. So yeah, nice, but you know, another wooden coaster. On the other hand, this one is fantastic. This is called, in the game, Ace's Sky. It's a wooden bobsled coaster. This is Twist and Tussle. Again, this is the blueprint they come with. The in-game blueprints are never great, to be honest, but it's easy for me for a video to just kind of throw them down. But this is absolutely fantastic. I love these kind of coasters. The only one I've actually ridden, I think, is a steel version of it, actually, which is in Blackpool, called Avalanche. But it just looks so different. It looks so much fun. Really fun to build, I imagine. I love how here they've used helix parts so that the supports line up perfectly. It looks great. I'm genuinely considering how the hell I can fit one of these into Pinewood Hills. The whole vintage area of my park is going to have to be ripped out so that some of this stuff can get put in. But it looks really, really nice. The cars, unfortunately, are a little themed. They have this, these like little plane things on them, but they're not. Or, they're not massively over the top. It is. I'm not 100% sure why they had those, unless these kind of coasters always had those. I'm not sure, really. I'm not massive on my coaster history. But yeah, overall, really quite sweet. We'll actually give this one a ride so you can see what it looks like from POV. So here we go. Great noise to it. I don't know if you can hear it on the video, but really sort of like rattly chain noise and a new chain noise, I think. It's not just the wooden one they've used. Then it comes off onto the wooden tack, and you get this really nice sort of whoosh of the track on the wood. One thing I haven't figured out, because I haven't really played around with it, is to whether or not the car actually works with sort of physics, or if it runs on a track. I think it runs on a track based on the pieces, but I'm kind of okay with that, because obviously you don't really want it flying off anyway. It's not something that's built into the game, is sort of braking mechanics like that. But I think it's such a pretty coaster. Really, really nice. Something very different. Very different to what we've seen before. It's got this lovely sort of carriage there where it collects in to go onto a lift hill again. Yeah, I'm a big fan of this. I really want to try and get one of these into Pinewood Hills. Last thing they've added then are these new 4 shops. I call them shops. They're in the shop menu. They're not really truly shops, but guests come over to them and spend money, so they're kind of classed as shops. One thing I'm quite happy about, we were a little bit worried because they attach to the path like this. The good thing is they've kind of shrunk them down a little bit. If you look at something like the entertainment point, it was like a big 4x4 square. At least here, they've made them sit quite close to the path. Unfortunately, you can't get them as closer to each other, so a little bit of creativity is going to have to come into play there. Obviously, we would have preferred them to work a little bit more like benches do, but I understand from a coding point of view how difficult that must have been. But there are a few of these as well, but some of these come with the free update. These are just the ones that you get with the vintage DLC. First of all, you have this vintage crane. It sells King Coaster plushies. There's no option to change those, unfortunately. That's what you get, but you can change the colour of the actual crane itself, and it's kind of relatively lightly themed, so changes of colour, and you can maybe do some of your own signage on these to make them a little bit more individual. There's a really great animations. I'm hoping somebody walks over to them. They don't seem like they're interested, but really lovely animations on these when they win or when they don't win. It's all new animations of the guests being happy and sad, and you can change the chance of them winning as well. One thing I found quite interesting is here, look, possible to change the likelihood of guests winning a prize. Making the prize rarer will actually increase guest happiness if they get it, and making the game too easy will reduce guest happiness. See, I'd have always just assumed that to be the other way around. If you win, you're happy. You don't really care how often people win, do you, really? I don't know. Popcorn, again, looks great. Really nice, lightly themed again, so do what you want to them. Nice animations as well of them going in for popcorn, and I think... Oh no, they're still going to their mouths. I'm sure I caught one before where they were actually sort of going in and taking pieces of popcorn. Maybe I'm just imagining things. Next door, the gumball machine. A little oversized maybe, but it's more of a passing thing, I think, really. It's got to look sort of recognisable from a bit of a distance. It probably is a little bit bigger than it should be, but again, lightly themed, lots you're going to be able to do with it, and it's just another sort of little thing that you can put on the path. Might not use that one, I don't know. I definitely prefer the cranes and the things, and this one I'm a big fan of. This is Zoltan, based off the sort of machine that you get in the movies Big, and it animates, and he's got very, very cute sort of wobbly animatronics going on here, and a bit of smoke coming out and all that sort of stuff, and then you get a reading, and he seems pretty happy with what was said there. So yeah, and you can change the good fortune, average fortune, bad fortune. Let's put bad fortune. 100% you're going to get a bad fortune off this. I want to see what the animation is for that. Okay, I ended up putting a couple of these down and waiting for somebody to head over to one. One thing I quite like about it is I did have to wait a little while for somebody to use one, because it's a weird thing to be happy about. A lot of time when new features come in Planet Coaster, they overly do. Oh, she's not happy. Look, they overly do the coasters that people really want to go and use them. If you remember what the balloons were like when we first got those, or the Vista points, even still now, they're a little bit too OP. So it's quite nice that actually people do sort of wonder past these quite a lot. Anyway, so there you go. There, all the flats, the rides, the stores, and things that are coming with the Vintage Park DLC. To have a look at all the scenery, make sure you click over to the other video we've got on that, and then to see all the stuff that we get in the free update, the 1.7 update, make sure you check out the video on that as well. Lots of Planko on the channel the next couple of weeks, where we'll be fitting all of this into Pinewood Hills and beyond. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed it. If you have, please give us a like. It really does help out the channel. And if you're not already, don't forget to subscribe. Any thoughts, queries, or suggestions, you can pop those down in the comments. Fancy a chat, you can find me on Twitter. I'm at John T. Sparrow. If you'd like to join in with the Geekism community, you can do so over on our Geekism Discord server. You'll find the link for that in the description. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba-ba. Ba-da-ba.